Have you ever seen a flame burn so bright that it suddenly faded away in its own light? Some people carry that very flame inside them. They live fully, they love fiercely, yet they fear more deeply than anyone else. They're not afraid of being alone nor of failing. They fear the kind of love that makes them lose themselves. Tonight, we step into their world, a place where passion and fear intertwine, where light doesn't just illuminate, it reveals the soul within. And there, we'll meet Aries, the symbol of fire, of courage, of unshakable desire for life. And yet, the one who must learn to face the very flame burning inside their own heart. So let's begin this journey from the moment that first light was born, the flame that burns bright, yet fears to see itself. Aries, the first soul of the zodiac circle. When the world was still asleep in the silence of darkness, they were the first spark to tear through the night, the first call that awakened life itself. Inside every Aries, their lives aflame not just of strength, but of spirit. A force that dares to go where no one else would, that dares to begin when everything is uncertain, and dares to love even when the heart has no idea how the story will end. That flame is their nature, their breath, their destiny. Guided by Mars, the planet of action and desire, Aries doesn't simply live, they burn. Everything they do is done with full presence, with fierce devotion, as if tomorrow may never come. When they love with all of their vitality, passionately, honestly, without calculation. But because of that, love for Aries is never a safe place. For them, love isn't just joy, it's a battlefield between light and shadow, between longing and fear. They fear emotions that make them vulnerable. Fear putting down the sword, removing the armor, and exposing the heart that beats wildly in the fire of love. They fear that if they give too much, they'll lose themselves, that love might swallow the sacred freedom they guard so fiercely. From a Buddhist perspective, this is the lesson of the flame: the brighter it burns, the more it must learn to look within. The light Aries brings into the world isn't meant to destroy, but to illuminate the soul. When they realize there is nothing to fear in being seen, when they dare to look straight into their own darkness, that flame transforms into wisdom. A light that heals instead of burns. People often see Aries as a symbol of strength, of tireless motion, of unstoppable courage. But what most don't see is the silence behind that strength. The quiet moments at midnight when they ask themselves, if I'm no longer the one leading, if I let my heart get hurt, will I still be me? That question has made many Aries step back from love, not because they don't feel, but because they feel too deeply. The world forgets sometimes even the strongest need to be held, to be understood. They don't need someone to teach them how to fight. They need someone who can teach them how to be at peace inside their own fire. When Aries finds that person, the one who doesn't try to extinguish their flame, but simply helps it burn in rhythm, they are no longer afraid. Because in that moment, love stops being a place where they lose themselves and becomes the space where they finally come home. Perhaps the greatest lesson for those who carry Aries energy is this: true strength isn't in always winning, but in allowing yourself to be soft. Only through softness can they discover the power of compassion, the kind of strength that no longer burns but warms. They say even the bravest warriors tremble when love asks them to surrender. And it's true. Aries sometimes needs to learn how to let go, to release the sword, to release control, to trust that they are still safe even when they are not being strong. If you're listening now and you are an Aries, ask yourself, how many times have you loved so deeply that you lost yourself? And can you love again this time, not to disappear, but to rediscover the truest version of who you are? Let your heart slow down for a moment. Let your fire burn not out of fear or desire, but out of awareness, the understanding that love was never meant to burn you, only to light your way. For Aries, love is like a candle in the wind, radiant yet fragile, and in the very moment they learn to let that flame burn gently, they step into a higher truth. A space where freedom and love are no longer opposites, but one and the same. Because through this journey they will come to realize, what's truly terrifying isn't losing freedom. It's never having learned how to love within it. And that is where our story begins to descend into the next layer, where love meets identity, and freedom becomes the heart's greatest test. Aries was born with feet that never stand still. They are the trailblazers, the first spark that lit up the darkness of the universe, the drumbeat that woke the world from its slumber. For them, freedom isn't a choice, it's instinct, it's breath, it's the reason they keep going. From childhood, those born under Aries have felt it, that voice inside calling them to move, to explore, to carve their own path, even if that path leads straight into the wind. So when love knocks, Aries welcomes it like an adventure. They leap in with honesty, passion, and impulsive courage. But deep within that journey lies a quiet fear, the fear of losing freedom. They're afraid love will turn into invisible walls, where every emotion needs permission to exist, where every decision must be measured against someone else's approval. To Aries, love has never been a cage. They can't be themselves when every breath is watched, when creativity must shrink under the weight of control. And the moment they feel someone trying to claim their soul, their first instinct is to pull away. Not because they've stopped feeling, but because they're protecting the core of who they are, the light that makes them who they were born to be. From a healing perspective, true love isn't about holding tight, it's about flying together. Like two flames burning side by side, each with its own rhythm, yet together creating something even brighter. Love is never meant to be a cage, it's meant to be the sky. But to understand that, one must learn how to love without gripping, how to give without control, and how to trust that someone will stay not because they're trapped, but because they choose to. Aries doesn't fear love. They fear losing themselves in it. They fear waking up one day and no longer recognizing the person in the mirror, someone who's forgotten their dreams, their raw desires, the very spark that once made them feel alive. For Aries, being themselves within love is the greatest gift, the condition that allows them to love with their whole being. There are times when they leave quietly. No arguments, no drama. They simply feel their breath growing heavy, their light dimming, and that's when they know it's time to find open space again. To others, that may look cold, detached, or avoidant, but truly it's their way of saving their soul from fading out. In this world, so many people confuse love with possession, holding hands with holding control. But Aries teaches us that to love someone deeply means to let them be free and still choose to stay beside them day after day. If you love an Aries, don't try to tame their fire. Walk beside it. Help them light the shared path, because only then can love truly endure. The lesson Aries brings to humanity is simple, yet profound. Love is not where we lose our freedom, it's where we learn to honor each other's freedom. In a world obsessed with control, they remind us that trust is the true foundation of love. When we trust, love can breathe. When we release control, love can bloom. And if you're hearing this now, ask yourself, have you ever loved someone so deeply that you wanted them to become a reflection of you? Have you ever feared losing them so much that you forgot love also means letting them be free? Freedom in love doesn't mean distance. It means space, the kind that allows two souls to grow without losing each other. And sometimes, in the silence of that space, love becomes deeper, truer, and more lasting. They say loving an Aries isn't about caging their flame, it's about walking with them as it lights the shared path. Because in every glance they give, there's a silent invitation. Walk with me. Not to keep me, but to burn bright with me. And when we finally understand that, when we can see beauty in the freedom of the one we love, we also begin to sense something deeper. Behind Aries' longing for freedom lies another fear, softer, quieter. A fear not of being held, but of being seen too clearly. A fear of showing the tenderness they've spent a lifetime protecting. And it's there, in that fragile, glowing space, that our story continues, gently opening the next door into the hidden chambers of the Aries heart. To the world, Aries is the image of a warrior, bold, strong, unyielding. They walk through life like a flame, bright, enduring, unstoppable. But few ever see what lies behind that proud fire, a soul so fragile that one deep glance could make it tremble. There are nights when the world grows silent and moonlight spills softly through the window. The warrior sits alone. No armor, no battle cry, only the sound of slow breathing and a heart beating gently, trying not to be heard. Because what they fear most isn't losing a fight, it's being seen in their weakness, with eyes full of tears and hands too tired to hold on to hope. Since childhood, they've been told to be strong, to rise, to fight, to never show the wound. So they learned to smile through pain, to laugh when their heart was breaking, to use anger as a shield for their fear. For Aries, anger isn't hatred, it's protection. Silence isn't indifference, it's a dam holding back emotions that might burst like a storm. And then love arrives quietly, like a breeze, soft enough to feel harmless, but strong enough to scatter every wall they've built. They want to trust, they want to give, but every time someone gets close, instinct pulls them back. They fear being seen too clearly, being read like an open book whose pages they've tried so hard to hide. Because love is a mirror, and in it, they see not only beauty but the shadows they've been avoiding. So often, Aries doesn't run from the person who loves them. They run from their own reflection in that mirror. Buddha once said, "There is no greater strength than the heart that dares to open." True strength isn't about always standing tall. It's about the courage to admit you've been hurt, to let someone see your imperfections and still choose to stay. The world has grown too accustomed to walls and forgotten how rare it is to see someone walk out from behind them, unguarded. When Aries allows their tears to fall, when they whisper, "I'm tired," when they let someone touch the softest part of their heart, they don't become weaker, they become real. Because only in vulnerability can love enter gently, like dew resting on a leaf. If you ask where Aries' weakness lies, the answer is always the same: their heart. But that heart is also their greatest strength. It knows how to love, how to trust, how to burn even after being wounded. Each scar teaches them that pain isn't the enemy, pride is. And once they understand that, they stop fearing being seen because they realize those who truly love them will never use their softness as a weapon. In this world, too many wear the mask of strength. But what we truly need isn't a hardened heart, it's one that still knows how to ache. A heart that allows itself to be seen, to be held when it's scared, to be comforted when it falls. We cannot be loved fully if we keep hiding behind our armor. So if you're listening to this, ask yourself, how many times have you hidden your pain just to appear strong? And how many times have you wished someone could see past the mask, to the part of you that's quietly crying out to be loved? Sometimes, it's in the very moment we stop fighting, when we whisper, "I'm not okay," that love truly begins. No longer a war of egos, but a meeting of souls where no one needs to win. And in that sacred pause, when the warrior of fire lays down their sword, something beautiful happens. The flame inside doesn't die, it steadies. It burns softer, warmer, truer. Because love never asked us to be perfect, only to be real. And when Aries finally understands that, they discover a new kind of courage, not the kind born from victory but from vulnerability. The courage to trust again, to open again, to let someone see them in the moments they thought they couldn't be weaker. Then, as the light of truth shines upon that open heart, a quiet miracle unfolds. In their tenderness, they find new strength, the strength of patience, of love that doesn't rush, of feelings that can wait. And just like that, the story shifts once more. The fire inside no longer burns from fear, but from a longing to live and love with every breath they take. They love like a gust of wind racing across a field of fire, brilliant and wild, as if time itself could disappear at any moment. When an Aries heart begins to beat for someone, the entire universe inside them lights up. Everything feels urgent, fierce, impossible to delay. They want to love completely, live entirely, give everything right here, right now. For them, tomorrow isn't a promise, it's a fragile luxury that could vanish in a blink. In love, Aries doesn't wait. They don't want to take slow steps to explore, they want to leap straight into the fire, to know the outcome immediately, to be sure the feeling is real, eternal, worth pouring their whole flame into. They love like a summer storm breaking through a drought, sudden, intense, unforgettable, yet sometimes over before anyone has fully felt its rain. But within that rush lies a quiet fear. They fear the feeling might fade, that passion might cool, that the one they love won't burn as brightly as before. Because for Aries, when the flame stops roaring, love feels like it's dying a little. They forget that love, like fire, has its rhythms, sometimes fierce, sometimes gentle but still warm. As they grow older, Aries learns that love isn't a race. No one wins for arriving first or for loving faster. Love is a long journey, a dance between two souls learning how to move through ordinary days without losing faith in the extraordinary. Like a flower, it blooms only when the time is right, not too soon, not too late. You can't command the sun to rise faster, and you can't make someone love quicker than destiny allows. Sometimes they stand between love and time, feeling their heart like a ticking clock. Each second passing whispers, "If I don't act now, I might lose them forever." And in that fear, they forget what's truly meant for them will always find its way back, no matter how many storms it must cross. Their impatience often brings pain. They crave reassurance, long for confirmation, need to hear that the fire isn't theirs alone. But love was never meant to be proven through speed, only through presence. Not everything that comes fast runs deep. Not every blaze is true. Some loves arrive like a quiet stream, slow, steady, yet nourishing forever. From a healer's view, a flower blooms when it's ready. You can't command time. Likewise, no heart can open by another's schedule. Each one has its rhythm, its divine timing. Sometimes waiting isn't losing time, it's how we learn patience, how we realize that real love never disappears just because we can't see it yet. And in this hurried world, maybe that's the lesson we need most: to slow down, to see more clearly, to listen more deeply, to stop losing each other in the rush. Patience, that's the second flame Aries must learn to keep alive. Not the flame of action, but the flame of faith. The faith that if something is truly meant for them, it will keep burning even through the storm. Not every fire must explode to exist. Some flames burn quietly, soft, steady, glowing through long, lonely nights, still warm enough to keep the heart from freezing. When Aries finally understands this, they realize that loving doesn't always mean moving fast. It means knowing when to pause, when to breathe, when to cherish the beauty of now. If you're listening, ask yourself, have you ever learned something about love through waiting? Have you ever noticed that sometimes, when you stop running, love draws nearer? Because love, in the end, isn't a race against time. It's a meeting of two souls learning how to walk together, no one ahead, no one left behind. Just side by side, slow, steady, but strong. And in those moments when the heart finally stops rushing, Aries begins to hear a softer voice inside. The voice of memory, of old scars, of stories they thought had faded but still burn quietly beneath the surface. Part of them is still running. Not toward the future, but away from what once hurt them. And like a wisp of smoke rising from that hidden fire, the story gently leads us deeper into the next layer of the soul, where the past has never truly disappeared. It's simply waiting to be forgiven. Some wounds don't live on the skin, they live deep within memory, where a single scent, a melody, or a passing glance is enough to make them ache again. Aries knows this better than anyone, because when they love, they never love halfway. They give everything, their trust, their time, and the hidden corners of their soul no one has ever been allowed to touch. They love like a warrior entering battle, all in, certain of victory, leaving no way out. But when love betrays them, when trust is broken, their inner world collapses like a burning fortress. The fire that once kept them warm turns to ash. They don't scream, they don't cry out loud. They just tighten their fists and quietly swear, never again will anyone have the power to make them that vulnerable. On the surface, they look the same, strong, proud, unshaken. But inside their chest, something bleeds slowly, quietly, a wound that never quite closes. People say time heals all wounds. But for Aries, time doesn't erase, it only teaches them how to hide it better. Each scar becomes a wall, high, solid, invisible, built to keep others from ever reaching their heart again. They don't reject love, they just stop opening the door. They haven't lost faith in others, they've lost faith in themselves. afraid that if they give again, they'll lose everything once more. In silence, they learn to stand back up. They work harder, speak less, smile politely. They don't realize they're living halfway, only that it's the safest way not to break again. And then someone new appears, gentle, patient, genuine, and still, Aries hesitates. Not because they can't feel love, but because they are terrified of reliving the same pain. They fear entering a battle they've already lost before. Buddha once said, "Fire was not born to destroy, but to illuminate." Perhaps that's the lesson for the wounded Aries soul. Pain doesn't come to punish, it comes to awaken. It forces them to look within, to tell the difference between passion and dependency, between true love and the need to prove their worth. When they understand that, they stop seeing the past as a sentence and start seeing it as a teacher. Forgiveness, it sounds simple, but for Aries, it's a long journey. Forgiving those who hurt them is only the first step. The hardest part is forgiving themselves for loving blindly, for trusting the wrong people, for crying in silence. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, it means giving yourself permission to love again. And when they finally set down that burden, they feel light, like wind after a storm. This world is full of people like Aries, strong on the outside, wounded on the inside. They're capable, articulate, disciplined, but every night they face a memory that hasn't healed. And the miracle is this: when they dare to face their pain, the fire within them becomes clearer. From the cracks in their heart, light begins to pour out, soft, steady, healing the world around them. If you're listening to this and carrying an old wound, know this: you are not alone. We've all known loss, heartbreak, and the instinct to close our hearts. But the beautiful truth is the human heart can regenerate. Give it even the smallest spark of faith, and it will remember how to beat again. You don't have to erase your past. You just have to stop letting it define your present. Here's a quiet truth: pain teaches us how to love better. Only those who have been broken truly understand the worth of gentleness. Old scars teach us to see others with compassion and to love with patience. Aries never gives up on love, they just need time to remember that they still deserve it. Not because they're strong, but because they are real. And one day, love will find them again, not in a blaze of fireworks, but in the calm gaze of someone who doesn't rush. In that moment, they'll know their heart is ready. The old wound isn't a wound anymore, it's a map that leads them back home. And there, among the ashes of what once was, a new flame quietly rises. Not wild, not loud, but warm, steady, alive. Because even after everything, Aries still believes. They still move forward. They still search for a love strong enough to match the fire in their soul, a love not meant to extinguish them, but to burn beside them, bright and true. There's something mysterious about the hearts of those who carry Aries energy. They're not afraid of loneliness, nor of loving the wrong person. But they fear a love that no longer makes them feel alive. For them, love isn't just someone's presence, it's the feeling of fire burning in their chest, the warmth that paints the world in color. When Aries loves, they don't seek safety, they seek aliveness. They want to love someone who makes their heart race, whose eyes ignite their spirit. Someone who makes waking up each morning feel like the world still holds something worth reaching for. In the world of Aries, love must have fire, not the kind that destroys, but the kind that reminds them they are still alive. They fear dullness, fear a relationship that turns into routine. When passion fades, it feels like part of them is quietly dying. They long for a partner who shares their hunger for passion, for challenge, for growth, so that love isn't just a shelter, but a mountain to climb together. Yet what Aries often doesn't realize is that in chasing the flame, they sometimes forget that real love also has moments of stillness. In the calm, they grow restless. When life loses its spark, they begin to wonder, am I still loved? Is this still real? They don't see that in that silence, love is growing not with explosions, but with quiet presence. Because like fire, when it learns to rest, it doesn't die, it becomes light. That's the lesson Aries must learn. Passion may light the flame, but peace keeps it alive. At some point, the relationship might feel still, no more heart-pounding moments, no rush of adrenaline, but that is an emptiness, it's maturity. Because true love doesn't need to always be spectacular, it only needs to be sincere. Through this journey, Aries begins to see lasting love isn't about intensity but about presence. It's not in grand declarations but in the quiet gestures. A glance, a hand reaching out, a soft "Are you okay today?" That's how love endures silently but steadfastly. This world teaches us how to love passionately, but rarely how to love patiently. For Aries, that's the real journey from fire to glow, from burning to shining. They learn not to run when the flame grows faint, but to protect it from the wind, to place a hand over their heart and whisper, "Love hasn't gone, it's just changing its form." And from that moment, Aries understands something deeper. They never truly feared love. They only feared what wasn't real. They don't walk away out of boredom, but because their soul needs something true, something with depth and honesty. They can forgive, they can begin again, but they'll never settle for what feels false. They want a relationship where both hearts live in truth, imperfect, yet genuine. If you've ever been that person, someone longing for a love that's both burning and calm, then you know, love isn't where we find perfection. It's where we learn to be present. When you love someone not because they set you on fire, but because you can breathe freely beside them, that's when love becomes sacred. There will be days when Aries sits in silence, watching small candles flicker, no longer blazing like a bonfire, but still shining, still warm, still steady. And in that stillness, they realize sometimes peace is the highest form of passion. That's when they stop chasing the kind of love that burns fast and start cherishing the love that lets them breathe. Not every flame needs to explode to exist. Some fires burn quietly, bright enough to light the way, warm enough to keep the loneliness away. And when Aries truly understands this, they stop running, because they finally see they never ran from love. They only walked away from what no longer made them feel alive. If that truth touches something in you, write it down. I'm not running from love, I'm running toward my truth. To every Aries soul listening, never dim your fire. Keep it burning, not to destroy, but to illuminate. May love come to you not to tame you, but to grow with you. Thank you for spending this moment here. May your heart always be guided by truth, your love always sheltered by freedom, and your inner flame forever nurtured by compassion. Until next time, keep shining, Aries.